Welcome to a special bonus Locked On Lakers for Saturday. Brian Kamenetsky and Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers lose in Philadelphia in a game they didn't deserve to win, but then should have won, and then lost in decisive fashion in overtime. What happened, Andy? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so LeBron James and Anthony Davis were both back in the lineup for in the game in Philadelphia on Friday. And for a long time, it looked like it wasn't going to matter. And then all of a sudden, it looked like it did matter. And then it didn't matter again. The Lakers lose 133 to 122 in overtime in Philadelphia. Andy, it was a game that, frankly, they did not deserve to win in regulation. And it was a game that did not that Philadelphia really wanted to give them, though, and the Lakers just wouldn't accept the gift. And ultimately, this turns into one of the more frustrating games, at least from my perspective, that I've watched all year.
Yeah, Austin Reaves said after the game, and Austin actually had a very good game.
Great game.
Yeah, he said he was upset at himself because he missed a pretty critical free throw down the stretch of the game, but it was among the few mistakes he made in this game. But he said afterwards, honestly, we should have won this game. And I was thinking to myself, I'm not even sure that he's right, but he's right. Like, they actually should have won this game, even if you don't think they should have won this game. Like, Philadelphia, late in the fourth quarter, like in the last couple minutes, really beginning with Doc Rivers calling a pretty inexplicable timeout, seemingly to advance the ball unnecessarily. Like, it was
the whole thing
odd.
Odd.
And they seemed to kind of unravel at that point. And what I found interesting about that, because then it led to the Lakers absolutely becoming a train wreck, like just a train wreck of offensive constipation in overtime. They could not, other than a Patrick
by the way, can I just stop you there? You sort of put together like 8 different thoughts and images and metaphors and all that kind of stuff in terms of train wrecks and constipation and all that. And yet, oddly, it worked. It did seem to describe what happened to the Lakers, a train wreck of constipation.
No, a train wreck.
I'm not entirely sure what that means, but it was what the Lakers were in overtime. You're right.
A train wreck of offensive constipation. Just want to make sure it's very clear really where things fell apart. But what I thought was interesting about that is just in terms of a game that felt both bizarre and disjointed, the tone for that from the Lakers' perspective, and maybe for the entire game, because I'm sure it changed Philly's script in some way, was Anthony Davis getting into very early, very extreme foul trouble.
Yeah, 3 fouls within the first 7.5 minutes of the game.
Right, and he picked up the first 2 probably in the first 3 or 4 minutes, and Darvin Ham opted to roll the dice and keep AD in, something that I found strange. I heard Michael Thompson during the radio broadcast, because I was at one point in my car, comment that he thought it was strange. And then later during the TV broadcast, I heard Stu Lance allude to the idea that that was a bit of a strange dice roll. But it led to AD being in this place throughout a lot of this game that, despite having an absolutely bananas fourth quarter where he dominated the whole damn thing, he was often out of sorts and wasn't quite sure when he could play aggressively.
He couldn't play defense, and that to me was the biggest thing. And this is why I didn't like. And there are times when coaches overdo the 2 fouls, got to take him out, whatever. Like, but I don't think this was one of those times, because you're looking at, he's not guarding. Yeah, pick a center in the league who doesn't score a lot. Whoever it might be, he's guarding Joel Embiid, and so if you can't, it limits his ability to be aggressive offensively. It limits his ability to play defensively. So you're really not getting any of the benefit of having him out there. And what we saw was the Lakers didn't play any real sort of defense. And I thought they were defensively disjointed when he was out on the floor in foul trouble. in part because when Anthony Davis plays, we play a certain way defensively. But if AD can't play that way, everybody else is sort of thrown off too. So it would have made much more sense just to take him off the floor and put him back on the floor at a time that he could be more aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I understand Darvin not wanting to take him out of a game that early and feel like you're falling behind. But if you're going to be falling behind, probably in either scenario, especially if he picks up that third foul quickly, I would rather AD, whenever he comes back on the court, be in a position of trying to chip away at that deficit aggressively, as opposed to having the same deficit, but you can't really play like Anthony Davis.
Right. It wasn't until the fourth quarter, when he still was sitting on 4 fouls, that AD could get aggressive, because he wasn't behind that 8 ball anymore. And, look, I mean, you talked about Reaves missing a free throw. Austin Reaves was fouled. I mean, Philadelphia, good God. I mean, the Lakers didn't deserve to win this game, as you said. And they certainly didn't deserve to win it in regulation. They like, the basketball karma of it all would say that after how they played throughout the game, turning the ball over way too much, AD in foul trouble, all of these. LeBron had a really bad fourth quarter, I think. For the most
he
part.
did.
But all that was outweighed by Philadelphia really didn't deserve to win that game. Like, they were so irresponsible down the stretch. Bad coaching, bad play, bad everything, that the Lakers had this opportunity to steal it. You referenced Austin Reaves missing a free throw. He was fouled with a chance to tie the game, I believe it was, and missed the third free throw. Left the Lakers down by 1. Philadelphia couldn't get the ball inbounded. Anthony Davis fouled again, now to give the Lakers an opportunity to go ahead. He missed the second free throw, and that's what allowed Philly to push the game into overtime, where the Lakers, as you say, were offensively constipated. Overall, like, I know it was a little annoying to me tonight. Like, you can tell me what you think. Like, most of the post-game questioning was sort of centered around, like, the comeback, like staying together as a team and all this other stuff and what you can get out of it. And a couple guys kind of pushed back against it. Reaves was like, yeah, we don't like to lose, and we don't want to. I already know, Andy, that this team pushes back and doesn't quit and stays together and all that stuff. They've shown that plenty of times.
This is not last year's team.
Right.
It's been
Win
established
the freaking
by
game.
now.
You didn't deserve to win it. Philadelphia put it on a platter for you. A game that you didn't deserve to steal as the 5th game in a 6-game road trip, where you didn't play all that well, and your star was in foul trouble and all of these things, and you punted it. I don't think they were particularly entertained by the idea of moral victories, but the line of questioning bothered me.
I mean,
more about it this year.
I mean, to peel
in this game, I'm not trying to pick on the media there, but
no. But I'm just to offer context. Really, where that came from was Darvin Ham, who spoke before, I think, every player, said that he wasn't going to lose sleep tonight. He'd be able to have a dinner after the game, in relative peace, because he knew that the team really competed. And there were periods where, as much as, like, for example, the lane became very vulnerable once Anthony Davis was in foul trouble for a lot of this game. There were periods where the Lakers, and in particular, I think it's worth pointing out Russell Westbrook, because he was the guy that I noticed the most, did a terrific job looking to front Joel Embiid, looking to make it difficult for him to get the ball. Like, I actually thought, under the circumstances, they did as realistically respectable a job as they could have done, trying to offset AD not being there, or AD having to play that way.
When they tried to go big, for example, with Thomas Bryant, Embiid just destroyed him. Yeah. I mean, Thomas Bryant, not a lot of people can, like, genuinely guard Joel Embiid. But however long you think that list is, it does not include Thomas Bryant. And Embiid just destroyed him. And like, the Lakers needed to try. But my only point is there. Maybe my criticism, I guess, then is
well, just the point being, though, Darvin. Just to complete this thought, Darvin said this, and you and I have worked in media for years. We've written post-game stories. We know how this stuff works. The reporters who hear that end up asking other players
correct
to comment off Darvin's comment, because that can create an angle for a story or part of the story, that sort of thing. I agree with you in terms of relevancy. I understand why the question kept getting asked.
But again, I'm not. So I'm saying my criticism then, I guess, is with Darvin, and I said before, I wasn't trying to pick on the media covering the team. So my criticism is with Darvin. I already know that this team can win, or this team can play hard and isn't going to quit and stays together. And I don't need to hear that. And I feel like this team is past that. We're at a place now. If they're going to be a legit squad going forward, then it isn't about, after a game like this, man, we played hard, and that's the baseline. That's a given that they should be playing hard. Call them out when they don't, but that they do, great. That's a given. Call them out for not winning the freaking game. You know what, guys? We blew this opportunity to win this game. And, this kind of stuff doesn't come around enough, and we need to be better. I found this game extremely frustrating, and that was part of it. I guess what you're saying, you're correct. Darvin's framing of it that bugged me a little bit.
No, I get it. And look, I mean, it was a frustrating game. It was a wildly entertaining on cocaine game. I mean, like, the game was absolutely crazy. And I'll say this, I was not bored for a single second of it.
It was great.
It
was great fun.
But seeing the Lakers incapable of truly capitalizing on Philadelphia, just gifting them opportunities. And then, this was in spite of, like we talked about, LeBron having not a great game overall, but a miserable fourth quarter. He was 5 points on 1 of 3 shooting, missed 2 of 5 free throw attempts, 3 turnovers against 1 assist. There was
3 turnovers that were really bad.
Well, there was also 2. I mean, D'Anthony Melton, who had like a career game, he had 7 threes and 7 steals, which I believe they said during the broadcast has never happened in NBA history. Shout out to the former USC Trojan.
That's right.
Showing off my Trojan t-shirt. But there was a big 3 that he hit in the fourth that I rewound a couple times. I'm pretty sure that was also LeBron, because 2 or 3 guys got sucked in down low with Embiid, and LeBron was one of them, but I didn't think was fully committed to stopping or doing something with Embiid. And then, Melton, by this point, it had been established, dude's on fire. You have to stay with him. But then once they got into overtime, you had Russell Westbrook 0 of 5. A few of them missed layups. LeBron missed. He was 0 for 2. I believe both layups. Like, the team just became incapable.
They had one bucket
scoring. Yeah,
one bucket, it was a conceded basket to Pat Beverly with like 20 seconds left.
And speaking of Patrick Beverly and Darvin Ham, if he wants to be critical of things, I hope he is critical of his decision to keep Patrick Beverly in during overtime that long, because they needed scoring. Like, they needed to put Lonnie Walker back into the game, I think. And I get that Patrick Beverly was part of the comeback in the fourth quarter, and he had moments in there and he contributed, and that's fine. But, and often, I mean, you and I were talking about this texting during the game, coaches often, go with the group that brought him there. But at some point, I think Darvin needed to recognize offense is more of a problem right now than defense. We need another scorer in there. And I was surprised and frankly kind of flabbergasted that he didn't sub out Beverly.
It was 38 minutes is too much for Pat Bev. Generally speaking, that's not.
Well, particularly those last 5.
But I look, it was my we sort of you let people behind the curtain a little bit. It's like you sort of spend the game. Maybe it's just sort of the old, sports writer stuff that, mindset that we have from covering a team for so long and writing things post game and doing post game radio and all these other. You sort of spend the game thinking about how you're going to frame your thoughts. And they kept changing. Like I was at the beginning, I was like, because I remember before this game, I said, if AD can't be healthy and LeBron may not be healthy, like maybe you punt this game and you just focus everything on Detroit and you go from there. And it seemed like the Lakers were going to punt Friday's game, except Davis and LeBron were both playing, which sort of wasn't what I meant. And so maybe I needed to be more clear. Then, Austin Reaves leads this phenomenal second quarter comeback. They go into the half down only by 2. They are actually winning. And then they fall behind again. And you're like, oh, Jesus. And then they were gifted a game. And
they play, look, to be fair, they played their asses off in the fourth, like in terms of effort.
They didn't quit. To their credit, they didn't quit when they were down. Like, I think they were down 9 with.
They were down 18 at one point in the fourth.
They were down 18, but I think they were down 9 with under a minute left. Like, they could have packed it in. I get that.
Yeah.
But in the same way, good teams kind of make their record against bad teams. It's always what I say, but they've only beaten bad teams. That's right. That's what good teams do.
Yeah.
And if we're supposed to think of this team as a good team, the other thing that good teams do is when they are given a gift, they accept it. And you steal games that you have no business winning. And Philadelphia was comically bad in the last 2 minutes of this game. And the Lakers kept playing. Great. You should. You're supposed to. But they were gift wrapped a game that they weren't supposed to win, and they gave it away. And yes, they just burned it. And I find that more annoying in some ways than if they just lost by 17. But anyway, it puts as we wrap up here, tremendous pressure on Sunday's game against Detroit. We like to throw out the must win. Folks, they're back to 10-15. You drop a game in Detroit on Sunday, you're 6 games under 500, which is only 2 games different than when everybody got all excited before the big, winning stretch that they had. You have to win Sunday's game in Detroit.
Yeah, just one last note. It's interesting if they end up 3-3, you would think without knowing any of the context that everything went basically the way you thought it would for the road trip. And pretty good. But then there's weird stuff. There's stuff that was totally outside their control, but either way, a lot happened heading into Detroit. Last point I just wanted to make, this game was just really illustrated. This game really illustrated just how much this team is dependent on AD.
Anthony Davis.
His fourth quarter, holy bleep, 21 points, 11 of 12 at the line in the fourth quarter, 5 boards. The Lakers scored 37 fourth quarter points. He had almost 2/3 of them.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, it just shows one of my talking points that I was going to be is now we know what happens when Anthony Davis doesn't play well for whatever the context. Foul trouble happens. It happens to everyone. But if Anthony Davis isn't dominant, what does this team look like? Well, we found out for 3 quarters. He wasn't dominant. And what did they look like? And then he was dominant again. And what happened? So, yeah, it's really important. He's awesome all the time.
Yep.
All right. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go find the show throughout the week and all of that good stuff. Before we go, do want to let you know you're getting near the holidays. Everybody's out. You're having fun. You're at holiday parties. We're back to doing that. Going to people's houses. Maybe it's a work function, whatever it is. You're hanging out with friends. You're putting back a couple of drinks. It's not uncommon for a few to become a few too many. And as the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride, but maybe you don't. Maybe you think you live nearby. Maybe you don't want to spend the money on an Uber, whatever it might be. You think you can make it home okay. You think it won't be a big deal. What are the odds that you're going to get pulled over? And even so, what's the worst thing that could happen? Maybe your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. It just can't, it keeps going. These are all the risks of driving drunk, and the results are tragic. They are often deadly. That doesn't always stop people from getting behind the wheel under the influence, though. And that's why police officers are out there right now in full force looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again, play it safe, plan ahead, get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over.
And Locked On Lakers is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Laker fans, if you've not signed up yet for Prize Picks, you're missing out because this is daily fantasy made easy. Prize Picks has the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. More NBA props than any other DFS prop operator. They offer superstar players as well as bench players. You just pick 2 to 5 players and predict whether or not they will notch more or less than their Prize Picks stats projection. And Prize Picks offers projections on every sport from the NFL to women's college basketball to disc golf. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. Safe, fast withdrawals. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. Sign up, play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. Again, do not forget to enter the promo code Locked On at the sign up for the instant match. If you're not playing Prize Picks, you honestly don't know what you're missing.
All right, Lakers versus Detroit on Sunday to wrap up the road trip. Got to win this one. We'll see what happens and see everybody Monday.